Welcome. I'm the proud superintendent of the Hamilton City Schools and a lifetime resident here in Hamilton. I'm Janet Baker. I'm here today with Rex Bukai, and you're in for a treat. We're going to give you a tour inside one of our new elementary buildings. 4 new schools open this fall. Stay tuned because you're in for a great show.
Thank you, Mrs. Baker, and welcome everybody. Not just the 4 newest buildings, but all 8 buildings have the same and wonderful technological advances. And what we're going to do today is we're going to give you a tour and show you some of these wonderful things, from how we clean to how we learn. So come on inside and enjoy the tour.
Wow, aren't these new offices great? What I love about them is they're so vibrant in color and so warm and welcoming to students and parents.
Yes, they are. They're absolutely wonderful. They're roomy, they're spacious, but also they afford us a great level of security. And
that was one of our high priorities in these buildings, to make them more secure for our students.
Right.
And staff.
When a visitor comes in, they come into the little area here, then they have to be buzzed in by the office. And if the office is ever concerned, there's a blue pull button down that does a complete lockdown of the school, and it also notifies the proper authorities.
In this day and age, that's big.
And then every room, of course, has call buttons, and up on the wall up there, but the room number would show up, and if the person hits the room number twice, it gives us a panic signal, so we know we have to hurry up and get to that room. So it's wonderful, it's state-of-the-art, and it's productive, but it's also safe.
And that sure has to give our parents a peace of mind about their student safety.
Absolutely. This is a typical clinic in any of our 8 elementary schools. There's an ice maker. Ice is probably the #1 healer of most of our issues here in the elementary schools. We have a refrigerator for refrigerated medicines. We have locking cabinetry for medicines. Over in the one corner, we have a special little conference room. So when the nurse needs to have a private conference with a student, she can do so, not with any of the patients here having to listen in. The clinics also have their own private restroom, and of course the nurse has her desk. Our old clinics had maybe 1 hospital bed, and that was it. Now we can service several students at the same time. And if you notice that when the nurse isn't here, our office has a great view of what's going on in the clinic.
Boy, I love the space in here. I can recall being principal at Lincoln Elementary School. I don't even think we had room for a cot.
Right.
And with elementary students, a lot of it's moral support for their illnesses, but certainly, you know, after they've been on the playground, there are minor scrapes, and to have this kind of space is really great.
Ice packs, Band-Aids, and a little thing for lost teeth.
Yes.
And that's the biggies that we need. So yeah, let's go on over to the workroom.
Wow, great teacher workroom. Look at the space you have in here, and the cabinetry and the storage. And
every school has a spacious workroom like this. Actually, more than 1 workroom. We have 3 rooms that we use as workrooms here in the building. We have one upstairs, very similar to this, without the mailboxes, for the people upstairs, with a photocopy machine, so that we don't have all 29 classroom teachers in here at once copying. They can work upstairs, and they still come down, they can get to their mailbox. Every staff member has their own mailbox. All of our supplies are neatly put away in the cabinetry. And here's, we have a copier here, like I said, and one upstairs. You needed more paper. And we have a lot of great parent volunteers helping us.
Yeah, and I love how you have them labeled, so it's safe and secure. And parent volunteers are a wonderful community asset for us.
They make it a whole family affair here, and it brings the families into the whole educational aspect. And it also is a great help for the schools.
And you know what I just realized? Here's someone who was one of my students when I was the principal at Lincoln, and now she's grown up, has children of her own, and she's come back to be involved.
The circle goes all the way around,
yes,
doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Now let's go on and see a conference room.
What a great space for you to have meetings with your staff, grade level meetings. I love the whiteboards on both sides of the room.
This room gets used probably 2 or 3 times a day. After school, we have grade level meetings in here. This is a great way for the counselor, the school psychologist, myself, teachers to meet with parents.
Sure.
And it's private, but it's nice and it's calming, and it's just a great meeting room we have.
Right. Teachers never have enough space to meet together and plan.
Absolutely.
That kind of thing.
You ready to go out and look at some classrooms?
Sure.
Let's go.
This was December 21st, 1620. The pilgrims docked the ship and came ashore. Today, this place is Plymouth.
In no time, the pilgrims began to get settled. Winter was fast approaching.
You know what I love? To see our technology in action, to see teachers using it. Did you hear the richness of her voice and how all of the students were so attentive? And of course, when the little girl read, I mean, you could hear her perfectly.
Right.
Fabulous for learning.
When Mrs. Hoover's reading, she's on a mild amplification. Research has shown and told us that if the teacher's voice is slightly elevated, you have much more focus in the class. And if you recall your days as a student or as a teacher, when a child is reading, a lot of times, children have altogether different volumes. Some children who are reading are very shy. With the microphone, everybody hears crisply and clearly what that child's saying. Plus, it's a pretty cool thing to hold that microphone and talk.
Oh, absolutely. Builds self-confidence. This was a great investment.
Absolutely. Let's go see some more stuff.
Rex, I bet with you being a high-tech person, you're just in heaven in this building with all this technology. And of course, you know, our new teachers coming out, that's a real draw to them for the schools to be equipped with technology. Smart boards, that was something that our teachers applied for, really are starting to learn to use and really seeming to be excited about
The
them.
smart boards have been a huge hit, not only with the teachers, but with the students as well. And we're now trying to find ways to secure funds to buy more smart boards because every teacher wants one in their room. And the nice thing about this smart board, it's just not a whiteboard that puts on a projection. You can actually go up and manipulate items. You know, if you're doing the associative property of addition, you can move the three add-ins around and show the kids in visual sense what you're trying to, normally you would have to try and get across in a book page. They can actually see the numbers moving on the screen. It's that interactiveness with the smartboard that just makes it absolutely wonderful. And the students are almost all adept at using and interacting with the smartboard themselves.
I was going to say, today's students are just technology ready, and that's really going to involve them and actively involve them in learning in a way that we haven't before.
Yeah, I've had to ask a few students for help on a smartboard, and they knew it far better than I did.
Yep. What about this brain pop? Tell me a little bit about that. The students seem to be so excited about that. And then of course we've got all these instructional videos. So how do you see that really helping teaching and learning?
Brain pop is a wonderful thing that thanks to the services of Title I, we wrote a grant for it through Title I, and we were able to get a school license for Brain Pop and something called Brain Pop Junior, which is good for kindergarten, first and second graders, and third. And we not only got the school license, but every student here can go home and access Brain Pop. Brain Pop is a series of clips, cartoonish video clips, but they have high content, and a teacher can go in and pick anything, any type of subjects from cloud types to cell regeneration, and there's usually a Brain Pop video for it. And what's really neat is after the Brain Pop video is done, then the class likes to take a group quiz, and the quiz is over the comprehension of what was covered in Brain Pop. I'm sold on the Brain Pop because the teachers are just continue to talk about how wonderful it is and how it's an audio visual, it's a sensory, multi-sensory approach where you're using your eyes and your ears, and that's really what the kids are used to and accustomed to at home, is learning through through video games and television, and so they're really almost doubly focused on a brain pop presentation.
Well, sure, and those students who need more time can get practice at home, and you know, certainly hits all the different learning styles that students have.
Great.
So that's great. And that assessment with those clickers, I mean, students love to be involved again, and their attention spans sometimes are short, but if they're actively involved in using the clickers, and I know we use those for a lot of determining where students are on an ongoing basis. I think we call that formative assessment. So you don't wait till the test to find out that a student doesn't get the concept. With the clicker system, the teacher's able to look at that almost on a daily basis and then help those students out. Is that
Absolutely.
How that
was a very, very good way of saying it. The kids love the clickers. It's an interactive thing where they get to input an answer. But what the hidden beauty is, what you alluded to, is that the teachers can go to their computer and look instantly who got that question right, what percentage of the class got that question right. That allows a teacher to say, you know, I need to reteach this particular item, you know, if so many students had trouble with it.
Sure.
And then also it allows them not only to put the brake pedal on, they can also put the gas pedal on.
Right.
You can use this to say, they've got this, they've mastered this, so I'm going to move ahead. So
really gets at individualized instruction.
Right.
You know, you've got a class of 28, 30 kids and they're all at different levels. Teachers able to see that and group and regroup. Perfect.
Exactly.
This is our restrooms. There are 3 restroom pods like this in the school, and they're really well thought out and well laid out. On this side are the girls' restroom, over here the boys' restroom. We have a staff restroom here, and the janitor's closet is here. But what's really neat about it is that a teacher can stand right here and supervise everybody when they're in the restroom. There are no doors. There are just cutbacks to ensure privacy, so they can hear what's going on. The boys and girls can hear the teacher talking. When they come out, there are 3 sinks on each side, and they're all motion activated. And they're all powered solarly by our lights here. Same thing with the paper towel dispenser. And the floors are specially made so that they can be easily mopped and easily wiped, but yet still give a little bit of traction so we don't have anybody sliding and falling if there is a little spillage.
Well, here we are in one of those extended learning areas. You know, when we designed that, I wasn't quite sure how they'd be used, but I guess talking to principals and teachers, they're used almost every period, every day for a lot of different things. Why don't you share with us, you know, how you see them being used in your building?
This year, most of our special ed teachers are doing what's called an inclusionary model of delivery, where they're in the classroom part of the time, and then when needed, they pull out small groups of students who need some additional help. Also, likewise, our Title I teachers do very much the same thing. So these ELAs, extended learning areas, allow a teacher to take a small cluster of students in here in a private setting, give them some additional work or remediation or acceleration. I've seen the ELAs be used for a child who was sick. The one day of school came in and had to make up a test. They could still be, the teacher can look through the window. You can either open the blind or close the blind if you need privacy. Sometimes we all need a place just to go and chill and calm down a little bit, and that's an excellent way. The child can listen to the lesson and still get composure and come back to class. We've had visiting people from different agencies come in. They can use that. We've had student groups go in and use that for individual projects. There's no limit to what we can do with it, and it's nice being able to have that ELA open as opposed to designating that's your office. You know, we have enough office space, luckily, in all these new schools. We don't have to lose any of these ELAs because they need to be open because they're flexible and they're wonderful.
You know what I noticed today in the tutor working with the student is typically if that happened, it would have to happen in a hallway where there were a lot of distractions, in the back of a classroom where a student couldn't focus. And what I observed today in that student working on that math situation is that he was totally focused. It was a totally quiet environment, very supportive in terms of the teacher's reinforcement, and she could correct him gently without him feeling embarrassed. So great learning environment for students.
And that's another nice thing about the construction of these buildings. Our doors are thick. I mean, they do almost create a soundproof area. And if all the classroom doors are shut, there's a greater pod area out here between all the classes where there's a portable whiteboard, where I've seen two different groups of, if you get more than 4 kids, you can't really use an ELA, it's too crowded. They come out here into the greater pod area, and more learning environments are available to us that way.
Document cameras are a word that we hear these days. When you talk about those, tell us what they are.
Document camera is really neat, and it is it replaces the old overhead. If you remember an old overhead, you had to have a heavy lamp, and you had to use usually a grease pencil or some sort of a special marker, and you usually got what's called a keystone effect. You didn't see the whole image, and it was kind of gray. The document camera is a digital camera that interfaces with your computer, and it goes to your room's projector. The document camera, you can put anything down there, from a piece of paper to a rock specimen. And you can zoom, you can focus. There's a lot of different options you can do. It will catch actual movement. And Terry White, one of our instructional specialists, has come up with a way that you can take a microscope and hook it to the document camera so everybody can see the same thing at the same time under a microscope. They're absolutely wonderful. It's just another extension of appealing and catching the children's focus and improving our ability to teach and their ability to learn.
You know, you hear a lot about, and what's reinforcing for me is when we built these buildings, my vision wasn't that they would just be beautiful new buildings, and they are, but it would be that it would really enhance teaching and learning, that teachers would have a lot of different ways of presenting material, and students would have a much better education, a much higher quality and rich education that would better prepare them for the 21st century, and these buildings have certainly done that.
They've done it in some invisible ways too. For example, the hallways here are I would say about twice as wide as the hallways were at Fillmore. And when the hallways are wide, it makes transport from one part of the building to the other part of the building quieter. When you have people congested together and you have shoulders bumping, you usually have words going on.
Oh, sure.
And it was we couldn't help it, but it was a noisy environment. And the doors at Old Fillmore were installed in 1928, and they did not block the sound very well. You know, here with the wider halls and the expanse of room, things are quieter. And as a result, when a class is moving by a room, that room, the educational process doesn't stop to see who's walking by, because they don't know who's walking by.
Right, right.
So, in the rooms themselves, I didn't get to tell you this earlier, Mrs. Baker, and I know you know this, but it's just amazing. The rooms are smart. You know, you talked about a smart board a minute ago. The rooms, I call them smart rooms. Every room has a CO2 monitor installed in that room. When the level of CO2 rises to a certain level, the room automatically pumps fresh air from the outside. So no one's going to fall asleep. All right? They're going to have clean, fresh air to breathe. When the ambient sunlight is out and it is bright enough, the room turns off individual banks of light, creating cost savings for us.
Sure.
This building is smart, and it's energy efficient.
We wanted them to be as green as they could be, because that's sort of the trend in the future, and it's a great example for our students to then pick up some of those principles. And I know some of the buildings have started green clubs, and I hear parents telling me that, you know, their students are talking about recycling and all of that. So we've taken the very best research and integrated it into these buildings.
I got to tell you a funny story. One of the things that as a result of us being green was a minor problem, and that's the flooring, laminate flooring that we use in our main hallways. They had to be to such a health standard and a spec standard that they couldn't use some of the bad things that good old linoleum flooring had years ago. As a result, they have a tendency for the first few years of the curing to show more black marks.
I noticed that.
And so what we've done, we went real low tech on this solution. We got a good long dowel rod. We took a tennis ball and crossed it, and at night our janitors were going around using the tennis ball to scrape up the black rubber. Well, then we got an idea. You know what? The kids, they own this school. They have to have ownership of it. So a couple of our teachers borrowed some of those sticks at an indoor recess and said, anybody want to go out and scrape off the rubber strips that we made? And the students turned it into a contest. And I believe 141 is the record right now upstairs. Wow. But you know what? We were trying to get kids to take ownership of the environment, and that's one way. You know, having them clean up their rooms so when the janitor comes in, it's minimal cleaning, and the students are responding to that.
You know, it's all a part. It all fits very nicely too with our character ed program. The responsibility, taking ownership, taking care of what you have. I just think that we have just, you know, really a great opportunity here in Hamilton to be second to none, and certainly with wonderful teachers like we saw today, bright, excited kids about learning, you know, state-of-the-art buildings and great leadership.
Absolutely.
We have a lot to be proud of here in Hamilton, and I'm really grateful and feel blessed to be a part of it.
Yes, myself included. And it's an absolute golden age here for Hamilton, and hopefully an opportunity for our entire community.
As you were watching our video, you may have wondered why some people looked a little wacky. Well, today was Wacky Day. And it goes back to last year when Highland was Fillmore. When we were at Fillmore, one of our classmates was diagnosed with cancer. So last September, we decided to do something about it. We all got on the bus. We went over to Tyler Rother's house. We all wore Bengals clothes. We gave him a big cheer, and we thought nothing but positive thoughts. Well, this week, I met with Tyler, and he had some good news for me, that he is 100% cancer-free as of this week. So we decided to do something special. So today, we're designated as Wacky Day in honor of Tyler's great news. Now, I know you think this guy next to me is Urkel. It's not. Tyler, show him who you are. There's our own Tyler Rother. So, hope you enjoyed our video today, and I know you're sending your best wishes to Tyler. Thank you all.